Hello and welcome to my Valentine's Day card series. This is card 1, and it was originally for a challenge hosted here on YouTube by BA Crafted Girl. So the paper I'm using for this card is from the Glitz collection. It's called French Kiss. So I'm just going through this paper pad and choosing out 3 designs that I'd like to use for my card. This first sheet of paper I'm going to be using distress stains on it, and the first one is Picket Fence. And the reason behind this is because for this challenge it was to use no red or no pink, and this piece of paper was red, so I had to alter it, and I chose to do that by using distress stains. So I went ahead and set that off to the side to leave it air dry, and my card base is going to be 5 by 6.5. This stamp here is from Impression Obsession. It's the Create a Card, or no, Cover a Card, and it is the graph paper stamp. And we'll go ahead and ink this up with peeled paint distress ink. And I'm going to go ahead and lay my card front on top of the stamp and use a brayer to get even and full coverage over the card. Now, there's about an inch right there of space I didn't get because I'm using a larger card base. So I'm just going to go ahead and ink up a little bit of the stamp and just line this back up and use the brayer, and voila. So there is that strip right there of double stamping, and while looking at it now, it looks very, very noticeable, but after you get done with the card, it's not noticeable at all. I was really shocked with the way it turned out. So I'm trimming this paper down to 4.5 by 6, so that's the way I can have a 1/2 inch border all around my card. This stamp set is from Avocado Arts, and it's called The Perfect Pair. And I'm using this little heart here, and I'm going to stamp that all over this sheet of paper to create a different background. And I'm using peeled paint, and then I'll go back in with broken china. So the color scheme on my card is pretty much craft and greens and blues. So it makes it a good masculine card for Valentine's Day. And these hearts really help make that Valentine's theme. So you can just see me here now stamping in the broken china. And I just did it in a random pattern because if you stop and think about a pattern or try to go straight or something like that, it just doesn't look right. So I just did it randomly. Okay, now I'm coming back in with the piece that I used the distress ink on, and I'm going in with Faded Jeans. And this will fade out, the blue on it will tone down somewhat. So I'm just going to go ahead and set that off to the side. And as that's air drying, I'm going to go ahead and do all my die cutting. My dies I use for this is Dynamics Decorative Doily Duo, Labels 2, and the circle one is from CC Design called Circles. And for the doilies here, I went back through the paper collection and found this nice burlap type paper. So I'm using that for the doilies. And then I'm also going to go back in and use the paper I altered with the stains right here. And I'm going to cut the doilies out with that one as well. And now the reason I'm showing you guys this is it's just a tip. Might be helpful if someone doesn't already know this. But when I die cutted these doilies, all those little stubs were stuck in the paper, so I had to get them out. So I just went in with a paper piercer tool, any kind of tool with like a sharp end, and I am poking these out onto my cutting from my Sizzix, because that's the way once I get done poking all these through, I can just take that plate over to the trash can and get rid of it. So here's another sheet that I just went ahead and stamped in those hearts again, just like I did before. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp out the socks now. So I'm going to take one sock and stamp it on this pattern that I created. And you're going to see that right here. And then I'm going to take another sheet of paper that I'm going to use on the inside of the card, and I'm going to stamp out the other sock. So, now that I have that done, what I'm going to show you now is, okay, well no, I'm going to do this first. This is the Labels 2 die that I cut out, and I'm using faded jeans to create the grass, and then broken china to create like the sky, because I'm going to hang the socks on a line to dry. So I figured these colors work great. So just go ahead and set that stain off to the side, that piece off to the side, and fussy cut out these socks, which was extremely easy because there was like no detail to them at all. Now all my papers for this card I edged with the distress stain, the broken china. I feel it finishes off everything is when you ink the edges. Alright, here's what I'm going to show you. The sentiment on this stamp set reads, "Friends are like a pair of socks, we make the perfect pair." I'm making this card for my significant other, and I didn't want it to say friends. So what I did was stamp this out, put the ink on it, then I'm going to take a baby wipe and wipe off the ink off of friends, because I do not want to stamp out friends. I'm going to take a Q-tip and just make sure I don't have any ink on there. Sorry, excuse me. So I stamped this out and it turned out perfect. You cannot see the friends at all. So I did a good job of cleaning off all the ink. So then I'm just going to write in lovers. So then I'll read, "Lovers are like a pair of socks, we make the perfect match." Alright, so for the clothesline, I decided to use some twine. In the stamp set, they do give you a stamp to make a clothesline, but I didn't like the way that looked, and I just wanted to add some more texture to the card, and I figured some baker's twine did a good job for that. So I originally wanted the line to like droop a little bit where I was going to put the socks at, but then I just decided to do a straight line instead. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere these socks to the clothesline, and I'm just using some glue dots for that. Very simple. There's one sock and then the second sock. And I wanted them closer together, so. Alright, now I'm ready to go ahead and start adhering things to my card front. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my sentiment and adhere it to one of the doilies. And then I'm going to grab the card front in the first layer and go ahead and adhere that to the card as well. And this is where it takes me the longest time for my cards, is actually the whole layout, deciding where I want to put everything. And that's what you're going to see here. I start laying things down, and then I'm constantly moving it and shifting things, and yeah, this is always the longest for me for when I make my cards. So I think I finally decided on the placement of the card. I liked the way it looked. I walked away and came back and still liked it, so I'm going to go ahead and start adhering it now. And I decided to put the doilies and the image piece to make it like one piece, because essentially what I'm going to do after I get this put down is put some pop dots so it's raised up off the card just a little bit, not by much. And you know, this also takes me a long time. I don't know. These pop dots on, and I use these little tiny things. It took me forever. Alright, so I got that here to the front of the card and decided to start working on the inside. Again, I inked all my edges with the broken china. Now as I was inking this edge, I remembered that I wanted to use the stamp that I used on the front of the card, the graph paper. I wanted to use it on the inside as well. So I just went ahead and did the same thing with that, and same thing as the front of the card. And you're going to see it here in a minute. There you go. Then I'm going to go ahead and start adhering my layers in the inside. And again, it's a 1/2 inch border around on the inside as well. Now these doilies did a perfect job with covering up the Eiffel Tower I wanted covered up there. Then I also decided that it just was too dull for me with those doilies, so I went back to the pattern, went back to the paper pad, and picked out another sheet and circled, die cutted that one, and wrote on there that I love you. And I used the distress marker picket fence for that as well, because that sheet that I die cutted the circle was almost a black, like a charcoal color. So I'm just getting the doilies all layered up the way I like them, and making sure that it's going to cover up that Eiffel Tower, and it does that beautifully. So then I'm looking, and to me the inside's missing something. So this is where I went ahead and I stamped those socks on the inside as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and handwrite in Happy Valentine's Day. And then that pretty much finishes up the card. You'll see a view of the front of the card and the inside, and then some still photos. So thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for card 2. Thanks everyone. Have a great day. Bye.